Thank you to 2Before for sponsoring this episode of the Running For Real podcast. I'm excited to introduce you to 2Before, which is a sports performance superfood made from one of my favorite flavors, the blackcurrant. This is New Zealand Blackcurrant. It's a little bit sweet, a little bit tangy. This berry is going to help you perform better and recover faster by optimizing blood flow efficiency, priming your body to manage exercise-induced stress, something we could all use and appreciate. Now, this is the result of over 10 years of research and development. 2Before products are here to enhance your pre-workout nutrition. I have been using it for the last few months, really loving getting to know these products, getting to use them before my workouts. I have really been enjoying the blackcurrant flavor. That is something in England we had a lot. They contain unique levels of antioxidants that have been proven to increase athletic performance and speed up recovery, which can only help us. They have these caffeine and caffeine-free formulas. It's clean. It's not got any crash energy. I love to use it with 4 to 8 ounces of water. You can either mix it with other drinks, and that is absolutely fine. I drink it about half an hour before my workout, and it actually helps me to feel better during my workout. So whether I'm feeling fatigued from just life in general or everything that's going on, I am enjoying being able to use this. Now, as a friend of mine, when you buy a 20-pack of 2Before at 2before.com and you use code TINA, you can get not only 30% off, but you also can get free shipping by using code TINA at 2before.com. That's the number 2before.com, 2before.com. Use code TINA to get yourself 30% off and free shipping. If you have some performance goals in the coming months, this is what you need to be using. It tastes great. It's great for your performance, and it is a great superfood to just give your body the gift of health. Sarah, I'm excited. We are back with our Real-Isodes. And before we begin, you told me, before we begin with our question today, that you had something you wanted to share with us that will help everyone in the community. So go ahead and tell us.
Yeah, this is a resource that I actually wish existed like 10 years ago, but it's here now. So many times as runners, like we get hurt or something, a little injury pops up. And so we go see like a chiropractor or a GP, and their first line of defense is like, hey, just stop running. It's always like worth its weight in gold when you find a PT or someone who can work with you, who understands runners, who works with runners on a regular basis. So our mutual friend, Kyle Bowling, who is a chiropractor, a wonderful chiropractor up in Louisville, Kentucky, and who was an athlete of mine that I coached for many years, he just created this resource called RunCare. It's runcare.com. Specifically for runners. So when you're hurt, you go on that website, look in your area to find a physician who's first line of defense, unless it's absolutely necessary. They're not going to tell you to stop running. They're going to do their best to keep you on your feet while you heal. He's adding new names to the database every day. It is super, super cool. And yeah, like I said, I wish it had been around for years and years. But yeah, our very good friend Kyle Bowling has set that up. We're proud of him. We love him. And thank you, Kyle, for this resource.
Yes. God, we needed that. Yeah, I actually made a page on my website like years ago that was like all the people that I knew. But like it'd been people that had been recommended, but it was like 15 people because that was all I knew. And then people would come to me and be like, what about this city? And I'm like, yeah. So I love that there is now a resource that people can go to. And
absolutely. Yeah.
Kyle is such a problem solver. I just love it. He is.
It's so funny. Like when I first told you about this, you're like, I don't know how he has time to do all these things. And because I was his coach, I know how he has time because he's the guy that's like, oh yeah, I got up at 3:30 today to do my long run. He's that guy who's like, slept for 4 hours, out the door for 16 miles. He's absolutely amazing. I think you two are kind of cut from the same cloth a little bit in that you wear many hats. You're both very talented.
Well, so are you two, but yes, Kyle and I definitely are both a bit of a stretch ourselves too thin and hope for the best. And probably will burn out at the age of 50. Be like stare at a wall for the next 50 years. Okay, so let's get to our question. I'll make sure there's links what did you say it was called again?
RunCare.com.
RunCare.
Very simple.
RunCare.com. Okay. I'll put links in the show notes for anyone to go check out. And then I'm assuming if someone listening to this is also someone who is a sports practitioner and wants to be added to that, they can email him.
By all means, yes. We'll figure out who the best person is to contact about that, and we'll put that in the show notes as well, just for the sake of dropping in more. Or if you're just a runner, but you happen to have a great person in the city where you live, please let us know. Let's build that database.
For sure. Brennan Donahue in St. Louis.
There you go.
Okay. All right. So our question today is from Chip in the Running for Real community, and he wants to know, beach running, a fan, yes or no, shoes or bare feet?
Ooh. Tina, roughly how many miles of beach running do you think you've done in your life? Like total?
And we are including soft sand and hard sand.
Yes.
Maybe like 30.
Okay. So I think I've probably done a couple of hundred would be my guess, just because like every summer when I was growing up, we would always go to the beach, and including when I went to high school and then college, I'd come back sometimes and we'd go to the beach. So I would do a lot of running on the beach. But for me, it was always a shoes situation. I don't like the feeling of running barefoot on sand. Now, the one beach that I went to on the Oregon coast, they're really, really flat beaches with very packed, like hard packed sand. So you have this nice wide strip of, that sand that's like kind of close to the water. So it's still a little wet and you're leaving footprints, but it's a really nice forgiving surface. So they had actually a race down on the beach. I didn't participate, but I watched it. And most of the people who ran the race were barefoot. I think because you see in movies like, oh, people running on the sand barefoot. But really, truly, I prefer shoes. What about you?
I haven't done too much of it. I've never really lived near a beach, that's why. But also, I find the hardest thing about it is like, yes, obviously the soft sand, but like the camber that is on that flat or that like bit by the water is sometimes for me feels a bit like like aggressive on my feet. I do like it, but yeah, I mean, I wouldn't just say I've had a ton of opportunities to do it. I wish I lived closer to a beach, but it's not something that I remember when I would go visit my grandma. I would go like when I was training as a teenager, I would go to the beach to like get hard training in and like try and run as fast as I could on the beach, which we all know when you try to run as fast as you can on the beach, ends up going the other direction, that you might as well have just run slower in the first place.
Yeah, to me, like sprinting on sand, sprinting on sand is like instant shin splints to me. I had a friend who trained in just north of Chicago, so where the lakefront, not exactly beach like ocean, but a lot of sand and a lot of dunes, and her team would do like hill sprints up sand dunes, which is insane. Like that's working really, really hard for not a lot of benefit. I mean, I think cardiovascular benefit, but I mean pace wise benefit. You just feel like you're moving backwards.
Sure.
Yeah. But I truly do love like the ocean. I love running by the ocean. I think there's something super special about that. Another reason for shoes though, especially where I ran Oregon coast, is because the waves, like they can be really aggressive. So what they bring in with the tide is like broken shells and tiny pieces of jellyfish. It's like, you don't want to be stepping on all that stuff.
No. Yeah. Although I don't know if I've run on I think I've always taken my shoes off when I've been doing it. I'm trying to think of if I'm not on that, because how do you get to the packed sand without all the soft sand ending up in your shoe?
I walk very carefully through the soft sand to the packed
You're like
sand.
Placing your foot down slowly. Yes,
as if I'm like trying to creep up behind someone. That's how carefully I'm walking across the soft sand, because I don't want sand in my shoes.
When you accidentally flick sand into your shoes.
Awful. Yeah. Well, that's like, another thing too, is like, so, and the Oregon coast, like it is one of my favorite places on planet Earth, but the conditions are so like harsh. So a lot of times if you're out running and then you're like, oh, this is great. And then you turn around and you realize the wind is always going in one direction. And then you turn around and it's like sand that's just like peppering your legs. It stings. Like it's nice when you're tucked inland, like on Highway 101, like that's beautiful. And you can run through the little shops and the pine trees, but out on the water, like it can be a little bit harsh. I like that question though.
Have you heard of Brighton Beach in England? How it's like pebbles?
No, but I've been to Nice and I think it's very similar. It's all their pebble beaches. I would not want to run on that. What about you?
No, I can't even imagine. But like, I'm sure that kind of comes to mind to me when people say about running on the beach. I'm like, oh my God, can you imagine running on Brighton Beach where it's little pebbles and it's just like enjoyable in any sense of the word. Like you can't really sit on it or lie on it because you're just like, ow, 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 like as you try and get comfortable. I mean, it is a beach, I guess, for those of us who don't live near a beach, but yeah,
and they're kind of pretty. Like, I don't know what it was, but like being in Nice, like the water would come up and soak the rocks, and a lot of them were like kind of tumbled glass looking rocks. And I was like, oh, these rocks are so beautiful. So I took like a handful with me back to the hotel. But then when they're dry, they don't look as pretty. And then I just have like a handful of rocks in my suitcase.
Well, I feel like we're constantly carrying a handful of rocks because that's something my kids seem to like collecting.
Yeah, kids love rocks. I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is, but they do. They absolutely love rocks. It's crazy.
Yeah, I keep finding them on my dinner table, and I'm like, these need to go back outside. And so you throw them back outside, and a few days later, they inevitably make it back inside. And Bailey actually sometimes runs back and forth to the sink to wet them because of exactly what you talked about. She'll be like, look at this. And then she puts it on the dining room table, and then it dries, and then she like leaves it there. Because it's not pretty anymore. So I feel you. Okay,
Charlotte,
thank you so much for Chip.
I was going to say last thing real quick. Charlotte does this with, we have our little kiddie pool. She'll take a rock and she'll just throw it in. And then if it doesn't make a loud enough sound, so she'll just stand there and go bloop.
Bloop. You'll have to send me a video.
I will. That's adorable. All right.
Thank you to Chip for the question. I would love to hear your answers if you want to share. I know we did have a bit of a conversation where Chip asked this in the Running for Real Superstars page. But thank you, Sarah, and we'll see you next time.